Okay, great. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us this morning for this University of Plymouth International College webinar, specifically for our agent colleagues based in Nigeria. Great to have so many of you with us. I can see we have over 70 participants on the call now, and there are still people joining from the waiting room. So I'll admit everyone as we're going along. So we should start with some introductions of the UPIC team who are on the call. My name is Tim Gutzel. I'm Director of Marketing and Admissions for UPIC. And then, yeah, let's go around and if you could all introduce yourselves.
My name is Toby Joseph Johnson. I'm the Student Experience Manager here at UPIC.
I'm Nico Staurengi. I'm the Admission Manager at UPIC.
I'm Mary Yates. I'm Acting Admission Manager here at UPIC.
Okay, Olashubomi Sholanke, Student Recruitment Coordinator, UPIC, Lagos, Nigeria.
Maria, I am Student Recruitment Coordinator here in Port Harcourt.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. So as you can see from the screen, we have an agenda we want to go through with you this morning. So we've done the welcome and the introduction and meet the team. So great, you've got the opportunity to hopefully put a name to a face of people you may have had some email interaction with before. So, and great to see you all. We'll go through the agenda. So we've got lots of things to cover here: entry requirements, payment information, CAS demystified, and then talking about how we can support you with all kinds of marketing activities. We'll go through the UPIC programs. I'm sure there'll be lots of excitement about the scholarship information that we can share specifically for early payment for January, and then also for students progressing to the university. We'll talk about accommodation. We'll talk about our social media. And at the end, we'll be sure to leave plenty of time for an interactive question and answer session. As we're going along, please do feel free to ask any questions you have. Maybe use the chat or use the chat as we're going along. But we'll certainly leave time at the end for any additional questions and make sure that we have everything covered before we leave you. So moving on, Toby. The friendly UPIC team. This isn't quite all of the team. There's a few people now in Toby's team, a student experience team, who work on supporting students while we're here. But you can see you've got several of us here on the call from the marketing and student recruitment and admissions teams. Then we also have 3 admissions officers who've joined us this year. So that's Sarah, Amy, and Kirsten. And that means we're much better placed than ever before to give you a quick turnaround time on your applications. And then also we have Maria and Shubomi based in Port Harcourt and Lagos, respectively, in Nigeria. So not just in Plymouth, but also in country, we have a whole team of people who are very happy to support you in your recruitment efforts. We're moving on, Toby.
Yep.
If you would, please.
I think there's some more people that need to be let into the waiting room. Apologies.
Okay. Let's do that. Mary, Nico, would you like to take us through the entry requirements?
Sure. Good morning, everyone, from the admission team. So yeah, as you can see, we got here the entry requirement for our 3 level of courses that we offer: foundation, first year direct entry, and pre-master. So the foundation and first year direct entry are usually based on the UPIC NECO scores, obviously slightly higher for first year. So for foundation, the minimum we require is 3 passes in 7 plus math and English at C6, while for first year, they need to have at least 5 passes at C6, including math and English in the UPIC and NECO. For some program, we also ask for some good grades in science, so at least a C6 in biology, chemistry, the generic science subject. For example, if they want to study health or life science program, or for example for engineering, apart from a good maths grade, we also ask for good physics grade to make sure that then the student won't struggle when they come here for their foundation. While for the pre-master, the minimum qualification required is a higher national diploma or a bachelor degree if they have it. With regard to the English requirement, most of our Nigerian applicants, they are exempted to present an IELTS test because they can meet the English requirement if they got C6 in English in their UPIC or NECO. With regards to study gap, so if a student has got a study gap, has been studying for a while, we will consider all the application, even if they got a study gap. If the study gap is 8 years or more, they need approval from our academic board. And in case of a study gap, we usually require a CV, explaining what they've been doing without gaps, and the personal statement, also explaining why they want to return now to studies. And as I said, if the study gap is at least 8 years, all this document will be sent to our academic board for assessment. Other cases where the academic board will need to assess the application is in case of previous visa refusal for UK or other countries. In that case, we will need to see a copy of the refusal letters. In case there is some name discrepancy, date of birth discrepancy between UPIC, NECO, HND, and the passport, unfortunately, we cannot accept just the affidavit anymore as evidence of the discrepancy. But for example, we can accept marriage certificate if there has been a change of surname, or an attestation from the NPC, the National Population Commission, as long as they explain the discrepancy between the name or the date of birth between the different documents. One important thing, since last year we've been starting using StudyLink for our application. So it's great if all communication, all documents are sent by the StudyLink agent portal in order to keep everything together for each applicant, all the communication and document in one place. Mary, have you got anything to add regarding entry requirements at the moment?
No, I think you've covered it, except to say that we always have to verify the English requirement. So we would be needing a scratch card for all of those.
Yep, Bob, if you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, payment. So as Tim mentioned earlier, so we got 30 scholarship for £1,000 for our undergraduate student from Nigeria. So it's undergraduate only, foundation or first year direct entry. If they reach the unconditional offer stage and they pay their deposit by the 10th of November 2023. So we have already received a few payments. So we have already assigned some of the scholarship, but we still got a few available. So exactly make sure that the student know that they need to reach the unconditional offer and to pay the deposit by the 10th of November to be eligible for this scholarship, which will be applicable on their second semester fees. So the deposit will still be the same. They will receive a discount of their second semester tuition fees. With regard to the deposit, for pre-master student, the deposit is 100% of the pre-master tuition fees, while for foundation and first year is at least 50%. Of course, they can pay more. They can pay up to 100% tuition fees, which means they will need to show less on their bank statement for the CAS. With regard for payment for current student, for example, for those joining us in January 2024, undergraduate, the next payment will be due by Friday, the 15th of March. The payment deadline, I think it's just been postponed. I think now we can accept payment up to the 24th of November. For late payments, of course, we'll need confirmation that the student is going to apply for priority or super priority visa. Otherwise, they really would struggle to be here in time for January to enroll and start their lesson without having missed too much. So as I said, we got this deadline, which means if we receive a payment after the deadline, we cannot guarantee whether it will be accepted and that the cost will be raised for this intake. So in that case, if the payment is received too late, what we usually do is offer a chance to defer the program to the next available intake. We offer our Navitas insurance, which is called NavInsure. It's not compulsory, but if the student opt to purchase NavInsure, they can opt straight from the application form or on the acceptance form. The important thing to remember is that the fee is £380 cannot be paid on arrival. It needs to be paid with the deposit, or in any case before the CASIS rate. It cannot be paid after that. Regarding commission, Team Toby, do you want to say something about the agent commission?
I don't think anything in particular to add, but as you will all already know, payment is made automatically by Navitas. So when we reach our census date, so that's a date 6 weeks after the start of teaching, when we know all the students are enrolled and staying with us, then our colleagues in central finance run a report, which we check, and then payment should be made automatically. And also there's commission payable when students progress from UPIC onto the university.
Thank you, Tim. And here you can see our academic fees for 2023-2024, which are still applicable for January 24. And recently we have started allowing people to pay via Flywire, which you can find the link here, but it's also on our website, and it will be on all the offer letters. So the student will find the link to make the payment via Flywire. Oh, CAS. Right, Mary, do you want to do the CAS, or do you prefer me to do it?
Okay, no, I'll take it from here. So once we've issued the unconditional offer, we require the student to send back their acceptance form, and attached to it will be their provisional CAS. So we need them to send that back with any amendments that need to be made. So if we've made a mistake or if they've forgotten to tell us something, we need it on that form. With the offer, if the student is under 18, there'll be an extra section for them to complete where we need their parents' signatures and some sort of UK guardian. And we do actually verify those guardians. So we will contact the guardian to make sure that they A, are aware, and B, are happy that they are the guardian. We require parental consent form, which is one from the university, and we also need a birth certificate. We then, once we've had that back along with the payment, we will then issue them with a precast checklist, which is just an online form provided by the university. And it will be questions that they've probably answered before, but the university require this, and that will go straight back to the uni and then come to us. Once we've had that back, we will then request the bank statement. And this is often where we will have contact with you as agents, because we'll be chasing for bank statements, because it's almost the last thing that we need to do before we issue the CAS. So we need the bank statement to show enough money for 28 days. And we will tell the student in the email how much money they need to show. So for instance, for a pre-master's student who's paid the 100% deposit, they will simply need to show £9,207. For undergrads who've maybe paid 50% of their deposit, we need to show the remaining 50% plus the 9,207. And that needs to be in there for at least 28 days, not 27 or 26, but 28. And it's got to end no more than 31 days prior to the visa application. It has to include the contact details of the bank, and that is something that we have to insist on because it's a UKVI requirement. It's not us being difficult. The bank statement must be in the student's name, or the only exceptions to that are it can be a parent or a legal guardian. We can't accept business accounts. If the student isn't in the student's name, then we have to have a financial letter of consent and the student's birth certificate to make sure that it is somebody that can be their parent or a legal guardian's letter. If the bank statement's acceptable, we then produce the CAS. Now we can do that in here. Myself, Nico, and the other members of staff now are trained, and we have the license from the university, so we can turn that around very quickly. Once we've got that bank statement and it's acceptable, we can produce the CAS. So we'll raise it and we will send the CAS with a CAS guidance set of information all about what they need to do next and who to contact and what to do. But our recommendation, please, is they apply for their visa as soon as they receive their CAS without delay. And though we ask also that they supply the same documents to UKVI that we approved when we raised their CAS, because we make sure that they are most likely to pass through UKVI. We ask that the students or yourselves let us know as soon as you get their visa, so that we can then assist, and Toby's team can assist with knowing when they're going to arrive and making sure they've got all the details. So that's CAS, that's the admissions process. So we hope that makes that clear on why we ask for things and why things sometimes get held up.
And as Toby is mentioning, the chat is very important to remember. It's just one single CAS for the whole program. So it won't cover just the UPIC program, Foundation Pre-Master, but also the main program at the university.
Thank you, Nico, Mary. So I hope that's given you lots of information about the admissions process and about the CAS and all of the things that we need to do there. But are there any questions at this point for our admissions team? Anything you'd like us to clarify? Okay, that's fine. So we'll move on. Please feel free to use the chat and we'll try to keep up with questions there. And as I said, we'll certainly leave time at the end for any questions you have. So Toby, would you like to pick this one up about student success?
Yes, absolutely. So in regards to student success, so students that come to us and come and study with us in between either any of our intakes that we have annually, so September, May, or January, they do the equivalent module out. They have the similar module outcomes as home and EU students. So our students do very well. And 85% of our students progress to the university as well as complete their university degree. And as you can see there, our fellow student Hadiza from Nigeria, she achieved the first, and we have Edwin, who just recently progressed from our pre-masters to our master's program. So what we try and create is a nice soft landing for students before they go across to the university. I know Nico and Mary alluded to it, that we take students on HND, but even students with a degree outcome of third class or ordinary degree from a university can come on to our pre-master's course. And we tend to find, in dialogue with students who go directly to masters after studying for so long, that they really appreciate having a pre-master's course because they feel like it gives them the right preparation to go on and achieve good grades. And there's also a little bit about some progression scholarships that are available for particular faculties, but I'll discuss that as we go on later in this presentation. So yes, we try and create a good environment for our students. And for any students that you've sent us in the past that we know are doing really well, I can collaborate alongside Amber and we can produce some nice flyers and marketing content for you. We know a lot of you are quite present on social media, so if you have any stories that you'd like to tell, any subjects that you think you can get some more applicants for us, we're happy to provide you the tools to do so. Oop, I jumped ahead a little bit there. Go back one. So yeah, as I said with the flyers and the information, Amber, are you happy to talk through the marketing efforts there on the page? Yeah. I'm not too sure we can hear you. Don't worry, I'll take it on. I'm not too sure we can hear you. That's fine. So yeah, in regards to the marketing efforts that you need, so you pick marketing materials. We've got posters that we can send to you, some banners. We've got some video content of students from various nationalities, Nigeria, Ghana, and we can also provide you with some, open days and education, so presence during your fairs. So Ola, Shubomi, and Maria there, I'm sure have come to one of your fairs over the last 6 months, or they've visited your offices. So if you need any materials, please do get in touch with us. We're going to leave at the end of the presentation, we'll leave you with our contact details. So drop in requests for the items that you need and we can get that sorted. We also have a digital UPIC brochure that you can use during your events, your fairs, your school visits. We'll be very happy to send that across to you so you can print locally. We have what we call pre-departure events. We've got a few lined up for our January intake already in the next 2 weeks, so in about a fortnight time. And we have different titles for them. So we have the application stage where you can speak to a member of the admissions office just to check on your application and see how you're getting on, if there's any outstanding documents or you had any queries about some of the CVs or the personal statement questionnaire. We're also having a theme on from the academic side, so your student could possibly meet a tutor. So one of our lead lecturers here at the college, speak to them about their course and start making preparations. And then the final one around accommodation and post-CAS information. So any queries you have about booking accommodation here in Plymouth, we can absolutely assist with that. And just a little image there from Alex from last year, who did social media, digital and social media marketing in our pre-masters course, and how well he found that. So a list about the courses. Tim, do you want to take over?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess the important thing to remember here is that we have programs at 3 levels: a foundation, first year, and pre-masters. And we have 3 intakes during the year in September, January, and May. We showed you before the UPIC requirements for foundation will be slightly lower for foundation, slightly higher for first year, but we're looking at UPIC and NECO for undergraduate entry, foundation and first year. And then we have pre-masters as well, which is a 1 semester program that leads directly into the masters on successful completion. We've added a few things there, a few subjects at pre-masters level. So communication design, for example. There's a range of engineering options now and psychology. And then all of the subjects you might expect at undergraduate level, but distinctive as well. So as you know, we have a coastal location and we specialize and we have excellence in all kinds of things to do with marine and maritime. We have a health and human sciences 3-semester foundation program as well that leads into all of our nursing degrees. So yeah, the university has a real commitment to all things international, marine, environment and sustainability, and we have programs in all of those areas as well. So wide range of options, but remember the number 3. So 3 levels: foundation, first year, pre-masters, 3 intakes: September, where we have everything; January, where we have most of our programs; and May, which is mostly pre-masters entry. Couple of things which have changed that we need to point out, or which are different. So for the health and human sciences program leading into the nursing and the other health profession degrees, we do require a faculty interview. So it's an interview undertaken by one of our university colleagues who teaches in that area. So that's an extra element of process there. And then also to remember that the UK government through the UKVI has changed policy from January, and postgraduate students will no longer be able to bring dependents from January 2024. So that's a really important point to remember as well.
Tim, can I just come in here? There's a
Please do.
question about age limits. So we have a minimum age of at least 18 for some courses, and that's because they might have to go into the labs, or they might have to, with the health and human sciences, they might have to go and be dealing with members of the public. So where they need to be at least 18 to start their first integrated year at university are, for instance, the biological and biomedical sciences, the engineering, civil and structural and coastal, earth science, electronic and electrical engineering, environmental science, marine science, robotics, and mechanical, marine and engineering, plus the health and human science ones. And that's simply because of the university requirements and keeping people safe. So that's an additional one.
Thank you, Mary. Very helpful.
And also to add on that, the minimum age for a class is 16 for foundation and year one, where they can be underage.
Great. Thank you, Nico, Mary. Any questions about the provision that we have? Or should we move on to the next slide, Toby? Thank you.
Yeah. Also, if there's any subjects that you feel that are not on this list that you think would be attractive, please do feel free to drop that into the chat. And one of the, Tim and the rest of the team can investigate and see whether that can be an option for the future. We're looking into 23-24 academic year if possible. All right.
Oh, back to you, I think, Nico. Mary, would you like to talk about pre-sessional English? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So pre-sessional English is an option for those applicants who don't meet our English requirement, which for Nigeria is a C6 in UPIC NECO for all the 3-level foundation, year one, and the pre-master. So in case they got a slightly lower score, or for example, they took an IELTS after the UPIC and NECO, and the IELTS is not the level that which we require, which is up there, so 5.5 overall for foundation, 6 overall for first year or pre-master, always with at least 5.5 in each band. So for those who are got a slightly lower score, we can check whether the university is providing some pre-sessional English courses. They're not available all the time for all the intakes. Like they're usually available in summer just before the September intake. They are not usually available before the main intake, and sometimes they are available in autumn before the January intake. For example, for the moment, just before the January intake, it looks like the 2 weeks pre-sessional English and the 6 weeks pre-sessional English might be running online. So it's something that the student will have to attend and successfully complete before receiving the CAS. And only if they successfully complete the online pre-sessional program, then they will get a CAS to come here and study their main program. As you can see, there are entry requirements also for the pre-sessionals. So for example, for the 2 weeks, they can only be short in only one band of half point, and obviously higher entry requirement in case they are first year and pre-master. Students have the option on the application form to express whether they are interested in one of our pre-sessional course, or after receiving a conditional offer. So if they found the IELTS condition, they can always inquire whether the university will run any pre-sessional course where they might be eligible instead of taking another IELTS.
I think the only thing I'd add there is we have to take into consideration the most recent qualification. So if, for instance, a student has got their UPIC and then they've gone on to do an IELTS and their score is doesn't meet our IELTS requirements, then we do have to go from the most recent score.
Summary, don't send an IELTS if you don't have to. But I didn't say anything.
I didn't hear that, Toby. Didn't quite catch that. Okay, should we move on?
So yeah, this is just another reiteration about the early bird discount available. As you can see, it's only for undergraduate students, and it's up to £1,000. And yeah, the first 30 students are eligible for this, and the closing date is approaching very soon. We hope after this webinar, you will have some applications you can put in, and the students can meet those requirements to gain that £1,000 discount.
Yeah, so please do get the applications in. We don't want to keep any of this money. We want to give it all away to your applicants, and make sure that we share as many of those discounts as we possibly can for January for undergraduate students. So yeah, please do get the applications in. And then, as we mentioned before, and Toby can tell you more about this as well, we have our university, the University of Plymouth, has a great offer in terms of scholarships for continuing students, including students who move into the university from UPIC. Do you want to say a bit more about this, Toby?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something we launched for the 23-24 academic year, and we should have this available moving forward for subsequent years. So there's two types. There's a progression, we call it a progression scholarship. Yeah, if students meet the academic requirements, so they achieve over a 70% grade whilst they're studying with us. Obviously, this is depending on what faculty they're going into. So for most business courses, they qualify. If you meet the 70% academic grade across all your modules and you have attendance above 85%, you'll be awarded a £2,000 scholarship towards your master's or towards your second year degree at the university. So it's an incentive for students to work really hard. I know the biggest issue we have at the moment is, the fall in the value of the naira. So anything that we can do to assist, we're trying to provide that for you and make your life a little bit easier, because students are always asking, okay, it's not just about that first scholarship, but at least now you can sell that, look, if you do very well academically, you have another option for a second scholarship after you've arrived. There's also the Academic Excellence Award Scholarship. This one is a little bit more difficult. We had a student last year who got granted this. So this is 50% of the university's fees. The student that got it last year was from Nepal. She got almost close to a first-class degree in her first year. So when she moved across to the second year at the university, she got 50% off her fees. So this is available. Obviously, there's certain faculties that it doesn't apply to. So if you have any questions, please let us know, and we can send you some more promotional material about it. Accommodation in Plymouth. I don't like to say we have cheap accommodation. I don't like the word cheap. I like value and flexibility, obviously. We've got a very good relationship with our accommodation provider, in the sense that we don't have a formal contract with them, but they're a trusted accommodation provider in the city that we believe provide a very good service to our students. As you can see there's a complimentary bedding pack, and there's also moving day help. So for any of you who have applicants who are under 18 and are studying like a business program, for example, and you want them housed in a secure location, we would definitely recommend booking through our accommodation provider, Clever Student Lets. You can do so on our website. Most of all the accommodation is within a walking distance, so 5 to 10 minutes from the college. The city itself, for any of you who know Plymouth, is quite a small city. It's a student populated city, so transportation costs are relatively low, if none, aside from obviously getting to Plymouth via train, bus, or the taxi service that we have available.
Toby, it might be nice to invite Maria and Shibomi at this point, say what they think about accommodation, because both have visited Plymouth over the summer. So Maria, Shibomi, anything you would like to add there?
Yeah, absolutely. Look at Maria on the top right there, posing.
Share your experience, Maria.
Okay, regarding accommodations, I just want to say this, like I visited Plymouth in September and I was able to interact with these accommodation partners, and they are a very nice set of people, a nice team. I met with them, we interacted with them. They have very nice facilities for our students, and one thing they emphasize is encouraging students to book accommodation before they come to Plymouth. That will help them get the best of the facilities and get things sorted out. So please try to encourage your students to book online. And from what they will be shown a video of the facility, not that they are booking blindly. They'll see what they are booking for. Please encourage them to book their accommodations. When they come to Plymouth, they don't start struggling for where to stay.
Thank you, Maria.
Yes,
Shibomi, what would you like to add?
yes, thanks, Tim. I was also able to visit one or two accommodations, and I must say they're actually a very nice and comfortable place for students to stay. And there are actually various options. You have the studio, you have the double studio, and you also have the flat studio in case you have students who would like to share their apartment. So basically they are going to share the kitchen and the bathroom. So it's actually a nice, and I will also suggest that the fact that it's very close to the school, they're able to access go to classes on time, not staying far away or outside the city. So like Maria said, I would advise you inform your students to actually book accommodation way early to get a very convenient and comfortable place for themselves. Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Shibomi. And a couple of other things we've been discussing with our accommodation provider. So we're looking to offer perhaps a week's free accommodation for those who arrive early. We need to finalize the details of that. But you know that it's a challenge to get people to arrive early or on time. So we're looking for ways to incentivize that, perhaps through offering a free week's accommodation at the start. We're also looking into a scheme where the rent can be paid in installments. So that should be able to help with financial planning. We're wrapping that up possibly with a guarantor scheme. So there might be, or there would be, a small charge for using the guarantor scheme. But the benefit of that is that you can pay in regular monthly installments and you know exactly how much that's going to be through the year. So we're always seeking to improve on the accommodation offer.
Absolutely. And just a little bit more about the social media page that we're on right now. So we've got a really strong Instagram following now. So please follow our Instagram account for more updates and some really good videos that we're about to launch very soon that you can use for promotion. We've got a Facebook account, Twitter account, and we've also got our YouTube page. So please like, subscribe, follow us, and for more up-to-date content. And yeah, this is just like a FAQ that we have, just to go over some of the questions that we generally get from applicants. What I'll do is I'll do a little bit of role play with some of my colleagues here. So yeah, Mary, can you tell us, is there an option to study online?
Unfortunately not, Toby. The only choice of studying online would be for a pre-sessional English course. There's no option to enroll online or to study online. It is face-to-face only, I'm afraid.
Okay. And what if a student has a study gap, Tim? What happens in that situation?
Oh, you're testing me now, aren't you? We can always look at applicants with a study gap. So going back, so if it's a shorter study gap, no problem at all. If it's a longer study gap, then we'll need to see a CV. And if we can see from a CV and from a personal statement that a student is highly motivated to study what they're applying for, that they have a career experience that's leading logically into that kind of study, then we can look at any length of study gap. But there are some limitations. So quite reasonably, as you know, if we were to go back 25 years, then the chances of somebody making a successful visa application to come and study in the UK would be very slim. So we have to be realistic about this as well. But yes, a student can apply with a study gap.
Okay, thank you. And Maria, can you tell me, can students book accommodation outside of Plymouth? Can they live in London and study in Plymouth?
Oh, no. London is about 3 to 4 hours away from Plymouth by train. So if you have an accommodation file or anywhere outside Plymouth, you're not going to be able to attend to your lectures early enough. So we always advise students to have accommodation within Plymouth. And we're strict about that for your good.
Thank you, Maria. And Shubomi, can you tell me, do students have to attend class every day?
Yes, they do have to attend. That is actually going to depend on their timetable. Should in case they have what is called classes every other day, like Monday to Fridays, yes, they have to attend classes. And if it's just 3 times in a week, yes, they have to attend every day.
Even
of that week.
even the 9 a.m. classes.
Yes, 9 a.m. classes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's worth it though, isn't it? Because one of the criteria for the scholarship is to
Yes,
have 85%
85%.
attendance. So it can be rewarding to make sure that they attend every class. Also, we're a smaller college and we will not chase, that's not quite the right word, is it? But if students are not attending, we will follow that up and we'll ask them what's going on, and we will reach out. We might even go and knock on the door to see why somebody isn't attending. So, you know, we think that's kind of supportive. It's all part of helping students adapt to being in a UK and a higher education environment. But yeah, attendance is important.
Okay,
Right.
please, I think we should also remind our agents to let our students know they shouldn't come up with accommodation of staying with aunts, with people.
Yes, Maria, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree with what you're trying to say. Yes, that's correct. That's a big one, really. So to enroll at the college, once your student gets here, they need their passports, they need their BRP decision letter, which they get from the UKVI anyways, and they will need their BRPs as well as a tenancy agreement in their name. So students are not permitted to just arrive and just stay with a friend, because they could be subletting, and that's illegal in the UK. So that's why we try and employ students to book their accommodation as soon as possible. Understandably, there have been challenges because quite a lot of students, especially postgraduate students, have been traveling with dependents. So they are not able to stay in student accommodation. So it's taking a little bit longer for them. But moving forward from January 24, we know that dependents are not allowed or are not permitted within that period. So it's fine. Students can just book standard student accommodation, and if they arrive early, like Tim said, hopefully can get some kind of discount. I'll ask myself this question. So can students pay their fees in installments? Because I deal with any student that you send through to us, I deal with them on a daily basis. So there aren't any installmental payments, unfortunately. For any student joining us in January, I believe their tuition fees are due in March. So it's always on the week 9 of study. Yes, they can make installments up until that deadline. That's no problem. But the remainder of their fees, so the other 50%, is due in the week 9 of teaching, which is sometime in March. Okay.
Just a reminder to reiterate, Toby, it's 100% for pre-masters, so pre-CAS, 100% payment, 50% for the undergraduate programs for foundation and year 1.
Yeah. Tim, you can ask me the last one if you want as well.
Are there any opportunities for part-time work, Toby?
Yes, there are. There are opportunities for part-time work, particularly for Nigerian students now, with the number of Nigerians growing in the city. We now have 3 Nigerian restaurants in Plymouth, as well as about 4 to 5 supermarkets. So you can get part-time work there. You can get part-time work on campus in the Students' Union. But the one thing I must employ to all applicants or students currently is the fact that you should not be exceeding the 20 hours work. You cannot, under any circumstance, afford to pay for your studies whilst you get here through the means of work. That 20 hours is just for some extra pocket money, for some more social activities, or maybe to just assist in paying a phone contract. Okay.
Also, don't let your students think that it will be okay and they can get away with it if they work more than 20 hours a week. The enforcement in the UK of the 20-hour maximum rule is getting stricter all the time. We're seeing that in Plymouth as well. So it's just really not worth you know, being asked to leave the country because you've exceeded that 20-hour limit for the sake of a few pounds.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the other thing that's just not on the FAQ, but is usually a question I get asked. So if your student, for example, comes in I don't know. So they came in September, they're coming in January, and they're coming in on a business course, and then they think, oh, okay, whilst we're here, we can probably switch over and apply for nursing or healthcare subject. It's not possible. Like Tim, Mary, and Nico mentioned earlier, a faculty interview is necessary. So whilst you're here, you can't just swap onto another course or change institution. So whatever course your student or the applicant makes is the course that they have to continue on. If you change, then you have to change your visa, and students will need to return home. So it's very important information that. And just to finish off, I think these are our contact details. If you have any questions, please use the chat function. I see some of the questions have already been answered. We are over the 160 barrier. So Maria is a very happy lady right now.
170 now, Toby. We've just passed 170. Maria promised us 150. So you actually underestimated, even though you were not confident in that number. But it's great to have so many people join us. Thank you all very much for joining. So there's still people joining now. Let me admit somebody from the waiting room. So you can see all of our contact details there. You're very welcome to get in touch and ask any questions you may have afterwards. But are there any more questions now? If you'd like to use your voice, it would be great to hear from you, or use the chat function. We have time. So if you still have questions, then please do feel free to ask.
Hello, team. Good morning here in
Good
Nigeria.
morning. Hi.
Okay, I'm Chris. I'm
Chris,
from
thanks.
Hench Education.
Good to see you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. I want to commend Maria for trying to pull us along for what she is doing in Nigeria. Maria was in our office some weeks back, and then she mentioned that this program was coming up. And then I'm glad that I'm here this morning. I'm very particular about the intakes that we have available, even if I joined shortly after I left a formal webinar. So I didn't listen to that part. And then probably, since we have still some time, if you could just tell us the intakes that we have between now and January and then mid-year, so we know how to guide our students. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 3 intakes during the year. The standard academic year in the UK starts in September. So all of the programs that we offer, all of the levels, everything is available in September. Most of what we offer is also available with a January start. And then we have a 3rd intake as well in May. And almost everything there is postgraduate, so pre-masters. 3 intakes. If we look at the pre-masters intake, you can't have more than a 1 semester gap between the end of the pre-masters and the start of the masters. So that means that if the masters starts in September, then you can only do the pre-masters starting in January or May. Some masters programs, particularly in the business school, have a January start as well, though. But that's worth remembering that there's no more than a 1 semester gap between the end of the pre-masters and the start of the masters.
Yeah. So if you start in January, you finish in April, and you have the summer off, the student will have the summer off, and then we'll start the master's program up until September. During that period, they are permitted to work over the 20-hour period, because that's a semester break. Okay.
Worth mentioning as well that the Health and Human Sciences program is the only one of our programs which is a 3-semester program. That means that it only starts in September, because that's the only way that can work and fit in the 3 semesters. All of the other foundation and first year programs are 2-semester programs. And then the pre-masters is a 1-semester program.
And just related to that is for each intake, we will set some deadlines to make sure that we can keep the work flowing and we can make sure that we get CASs out in time. So the current deadlines that we've just changed yesterday, actually, the payment deadline for the January intake will be the 24th of November. And to recap, if any of your undergrads want to take advantage of that scholarship, then the payment and deadline for that would be the 10th of November. Tim will usually circulate the deadlines for each intake in plenty of time, so that you would know when we would request documents and when your applications need to be in by. That information is also on our website usually.
Thanks, Chris. Does that help? Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's helpful. There's this thing we know about the pre-master's program that are actually finishing 90 days before the start of your master's program, and then if one hasn't got an integrated CAS, it's going to be an issue staying back in the UK. I think you got around that. Well,
Yeah.
does it affect?
Yeah, so
Okay,
we provide a single CAS. So if they did come in for a pre-masters in January, they will have their same visa for the duration of the master's program as well. That starts in September 24. So they will join us in pre-masters for January 24. They complete that hopefully successfully in April. Successfully, they are progressing to a business course, for example. They get above 70%. They get above 85% attendance. They get awarded a £2,000 scholarship. In May, from May to August, they're on a holiday period. They can work above 20 hours should they wish to, and then they can start their master's program in September on the same visa and carry on.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, thank you for that. Okay. So the other thing is was the issue with study gap and our HND. Many persons have asked, and then we feel okay. We just need to get back to them.
So in regards to the HND, yes, we do accept HND holders as well as third class or ordinary degree holders from the university. Study gaps, we just need to know from the last academic study that they completed up until when the program starts with us, what they've been doing, whether they've been doing anything related to their course. So we can't have a situation where maybe a student graduated in December 2020 and on the CV, there's no information about what happened from January 2021 up until now. We need a good description of where they've been working, whether that work experience is related to the field that they're applying to study. We can't have any gaps in between. So the CV just needs to be prepared in such a way for our admissions team to review.
Any more questions?
I'm fine, thank you. I think this goes a long way.
Great, thanks, Chris. Anybody else? Anything else you would like to ask us?
Okay, good afternoon.
Hello, Grace.
Or good morning, rather. Okay, my name is Grace from AHZ. Actually, this is a very good session. Thank you for this presentation. And I must also applaud Madam Shubomi. She has really been doing a very good job here with us. Please, Mr. Toby Joseph, you made a statement now. You said you accept third class students. That's for the pre-masters. Is there like a specific course they can apply to, or they can apply for all the courses listed here on my screen? Like maybe a student has probably a third class in education, they can come for a third class, a pre-masters program in UPIC, right?
Correct.
I don't know if you can
yes,
hear me.
Yes, that's correct. So anything, a student that achieves a third class degree can apply for any of our pre-master's subjects there. That's correct.
And there's no like maybe what's the word? There's no like limitation to whatever degree they might have.
No,
whatever school.
No limitation. I mean, the only limitation would be if their personal statement or their CV, if they have study gap, are not up to scratch. So it's that understanding so that they need to complete the personal statement is a satisfactory.
Okay, please. I have another question. What if probably they want a change of career and they have a longer years of working experience? Like, for example, somebody that has been in the field of engineering and wants to go, or maybe has a third class in engineering and wants to go into education and probably has up to like 5 to 10 years in the education field. Does that student have a chance?
Mary, do you want to
Yeah,
take
I
this
mean,
one?
basically with all of these situations, we need a really strong personal statement that would really explain why they want to change their career path, and also, like you say, a CV with absolutely no gaps that shows a real set of relevant experience with these circumstances. So with a larger study gap or with a change of career path, we will refer those to the academic board, and they will take into account all of the documents that the student has submitted along with the personal statement and the CV. So if those are strong, then they've got good reason, as Tim said, they would have good reason to allow us to continue with the application. So it does need to be a strong case. And as Tim said earlier, it's also about making sure that they wouldn't risk a visa refusal, that there are no questions that could be asked about, is this a genuine student? So long as they can provide us with that information, then we can certainly consider.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you so much. That will be all. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any more questions as we approach 12 o'clock?
Okay, so if we're all good with the questions, I guess we can wrap it up there. All good? Okay, well, thank you again. Thank you so much for joining. I think we've had around 170 participants on this webinar. So it's a great attendance. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of my UPIC colleagues for their contributions, to Toby and Mary and Nico, Maria, Olashabomi. Thank you all for your inputs. Amber, did I mention you as well? Sorry. Yep, thank you to all of the UPIC colleagues and your inputs. Thank you all very much for joining. We've been recording the session, so we'll be sure to share the link with you as soon as we have that. We'll also post the recording on our YouTube channel, so you can go along and see, watch it again there if you'd like to, and also see all of the other videos that we have on there too. I guess that's it, isn't it? So yes, thank you all very much for joining, and we hope to see you again soon.
Bye from Plymouth. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.